The last few weeks have been building up to this as Helldivers have been waiting to see what Arrowhead delivers in terms of a new patch update and the Warhammer Warbond. And the question on everyone's mind is, did they cook? Well, I've got the new patch covered for you from stem to stern, along with my brutally honest thoughts along the way as we take a deep dive into that question, did this patch deliver? We've had a lot hit the socials from Arrowhead between yesterday and today, and the latest Warhammer 40k developer deep dive trailer did showcase some of the items we will be getting today in that Warbond, and overall, it gave us a better idea of what kind of damage, power levels, and armor pen we're looking at with those new gear pieces. Now, back when I reviewed the 40k Warbond based on that first trailer, I was most interested in the 𝗪𝗀, the bolt pistol, and the 𝗪𝗀. And in this latest developer deep dive, all three of those items did look strong. In particular, the 𝗪𝗀 was featured twice. The first time when it absolutely slagged the Hulk by hitting it in the faceplate, and later on when a behemoth charger was beelining right at the diver and the 𝗪𝗀 just took the entire charger's face off. So yeah, this thing looks chunky for sure. Now once the data miners have done their thing and we have the exact stats across the board for the 𝗪𝗀, expect a follow-up report here on the channel. Moving on, and the bolt pistol sounds like it hits a bile spewer in the trailer footage, but the main takeaway we got here is that we can see this massive explosion. So last week we got confirmation that the bolt pistol is heavy armor pen, and now we see an enemy explode. So this thing looks to be the new hotness when it comes to secondary weapons, with that combination of firepower, explosive damage, and armor pen. In its own right, the 𝗪𝗀 also looks to be a capable throwable, as the footage shows a behemoth charger running over it, and as this plasma blast fires upwards and hits the charger, it not only shreds off its armor, but damn near insta-kills this thing as well. And we saw this thing also liquefy a Hulk in the previous trailer, so outside of the hotshot lasgun and the armor itself, which we'll get a bit later today in the Warbond once it releases, at least 3 of the 40k Warbond items do look strong. Alright, over to the main event. What has changed in the patch notes? And we're now into a new naming convention for this story arc, as it is being called Devoid of Liberty. Now, since I am doing this video really early, I don't yet know how large the patch will be on PC, PlayStation, or Xbox. So if you can help out a diver and post a comment with your platform and the patch size, that would be awesome, and thank you. So we've been seeing the Illuminate Void growing week after week, and as many of you predicted, we would next be going up against the Squid. And with this new battle we're being sent into, we've got 2 new enemies to go up against. Now you can see them here in this footage, with the bigger of the 2 being called a Crusher. And the patch notes say it can regenerate its health, and so you'll need to wear it down quickly without pause. It also seems to be carrying a giant club and slamming the ground around it. Now the second new enemy is called a Wretch, which is the exact opposite of the Crusher. Wretches are super quick and nimble, capable of dodging and leaping at players while they advance on your position. Now overall, these 2 new enemies seem to fit that horror theme vibe we saw the teddy bear go through in one of the past trailers, and these Illuminate enemies certainly do look unique. Next up, and I know a lot of you have waited a very long time for this one, the SEAF have now entered the battle outside of super cities. This will be a planetary modifier, so the SEAF are going to be deployed to the front lines to fight side by side with the Helldivers. And the devs said during their deep dive that they're going to have medics, demo specialists, and troops armed with shiny new gear, even a stim pistol. Honestly, we've needed some new content and things to shake up the combat, and new enemy types and SEAF showing up and blasting the place to bits on the front lines can certainly give us a little shot of adrenaline. Now over to all the other changes in this patch, and let me first set this up with a bit of context for you. I wanted to say that I'm not dooming or dunking on the rest of the changes in this patch, but to kind of use Commissar Kai's analogy between soup and cake, you know, the rest of these changes just aren't the soup we wanted or needed. I guess what I'm saying here is that when it comes to big fix items and priorities, while some of these things are cool and players probably weren't thinking about them, and I can lump myself into that category, these aren't the biggies I know a lot of you were hoping for. Nonetheless, I'm going to run through them quickly, starting off with the level cap, which we've already heard about, and it's going from 150 up to 300. You will be getting new ranks and titles, and the developers estimated that a player would need to sink about 3,500 to 4,000 hours into the game to reach rank 300. They've also expanded the available emote slots from 4 up to 8, because, you know, we'd be getting new emotes, and the selection wheel needed a bit of a buff. The Gator from the oil drilling missions has also received some augments, so you will notice that it has improved speed and handling. It's also receiving more ammo, more health, and more knockback and impact damage as well, and it's also going to be harder to roll over. Also, enemies will no longer be aggroed to the Gator unless a Helldiver is inside of it or it's drilling. Along those same lines, when we call in the Bastion tank or Exosuits, enemies are not going to start shooting at it in the sky before it touches down, and they will leave our armor alone until we enter it once. So if you hop into your mech, do some damage, and then hop out of it, then the enemies will aggro to it even though you're not in it and start chunking down its health. Assisted reload has also been reworked so that now, as long as one of the players is wearing the right backpack, the assisted reload will take place. If both of you have the correct backpack, the loader will use up both backpacks' ammo reserves, so you can potentially stay in this assisted shooting formation for quite a long time. There's also been some animation reworks so that when the player that's doing the shooting turns, the loader turns more naturally with them. Stratagem weapons now have icons attached to them in the selection screen, and you will see there if a stratagem requires a backpack or if it's expendable, so no more messing up if you have the spear or the commando. Now, since I know some of you are going to ask, sadly, the answer is no. There are no loadout functions mentioned in these patch notes. 2 new changes to diver movement and inputs can be found in here as well. The first being when we jump off of objects and have one of those heavy landings where we seem to break one or both of our Helldiver legs and are stuck in place. Well, that stuck in place time will now be 40% shorter. And if you remember in the last patch, we got enhancements to reload, which was a delayed reload mechanic and a timer to force through that reload even if it were being interrupted. Well, here now in this patch, we have that for stimming as well. On a side note, the Constitution now has stripper clips, and short mags were added for all the Liberator variants. In addition, if you equip short mags on your weapons, you will start off with more base mags now, and the spare mags have also been upped, so short mags will now give you a lot more ammo potential than before. When we talk stratagems, the Eagle Napalm airstrike has received more explosive radius, a new visual effect, and a more spread out bombing run pattern, so overall this thing looks pretty cracked now. Also, the anti-tank mines have been put back to a demo strength of 40, which I believe they were a long time ago, so now they can once again destroy walls and bug holes from outside. Enemies saw some changes here as well, as hunters can now damage the FRV, as they now have the ability to hit the FRV with 1 melee strike. Okay. Also, the Illuminate Veraciter will now ragdoll Helldivers when they attempt to block the melee strikes with a ballistic shield, whereas before you'd get sent into orbit. There was also a host of crash fixes along with gameplay fixes that I'm going to run up on the screen now so you can see them scroll by. And while that's going on, I'm going to cherry pick some of the highlights here from the list, like Exosuits no longer getting stuck up in trees when they're dropped off, the XO55 breakthrough shield bug where the arm could be damaged through the shield is apparently now fixed, SEAF soldiers can now destroy enemy spawners, and the enemies in the established communications uplink missions have now apparently learned how to climb stairs. While you're thinking over the patch notes and hopefully dropping a comment there as well, I'm going to chime in for a bit with my thoughts. And like I said earlier, these aren't bad changes. And some of these were honestly nowhere on my radar, like at all. But again, this is cake. And what we needed from Arrowhead was a giant helping of soup. Things like helipod steering, strat balls bouncing, player progression, and the broken spawns that turn the game into a walking simulator are all things the community is asking Arrowhead to focus on, and again, none of that can be found here in this patch. In many regards, most of these changes don't feel like they should be the main course in a major title update patch. Know what I mean? These are things that should have just been put into the game, with a little mention, maybe week to week spread out, and kind of left at that. So in general, this was a quality of life update more so than anything else. Now, we've also got the Warhammer 40k war bond dropping just a little later this morning because, you know, Arrowhead always likes to hit us with the patch first, and then a few hours later, the war bond will drop. I'm going to do my best to get in some time and testing with the new gear so I can give you my honest thoughts and impressions of all the gear. But for now, I want to turn to you for your thoughts and feedback. So drop a comment about anything in the patch or maybe the 40k war bond, and let's get a healthy discussion going. If you found the video informative, please hit subscribe and ring the notifications bell. And before I end this one, I'd like to extend a massive thanks to all of our dedicated channel members. Until the next one, this is 𝐷𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿